you want to start us off on this, the Agile loop, or you want me to
Yeah.
hit it with the technical side first? Where this
So
even
the
came
Agile loop is an approach. Corey just taught me this before. I think when you get good at what you do in life, this kind of really is what tends to happen, which is the Agile loop is measure, learn, tweak, report. Is that correct, Corey?
Repeat. But yeah.
Oh, yeah, repeat. Sorry. Yeah, repeat. So measure, learn, tweak, repeat.
And you will report,
And
yes.
yeah, and maybe sending a report out here and there. And I think when you were sharing that with me before, it's like it's such an unconscious being like a natural process that does happen over time when you do this well, is that you do go through these processes of measuring, reporting, tracking, all those things, learning, feedback loop, self-reflection, and then tweaking it, making next decisions, and then repeating it. Not reporting it, but repeating it. And depending on where you are at your journey, if you're a business owner running your own account or you're a specialist or an agency, you do need to go through this because the biggest part of advertising is the data side. And the good thing about Google is that you still have so much more data than any other marketing channels ever had in history. And for a channel that still has the potential to be quite direct, that if you do these things properly, you can have a lot of success. Now, with the measure, the learn, tweak, repeat, the learning is actually learning from your own data, not from someone else's checklist, not something. So I think a lot of this is a lot of critical thinking, aligning it with your business and really knowing based on my industry, based on my business, based on the season we're in at the moment, and all these other things within the business, our goals. That's where the learning takes place, because advertising is there to support your outcomes in your business, not how do we just get advertising to work. Because you can have the same business with two different goals and your marketing and advertising and Google ad strategy can be completely different, rather than just going, this is what we do for your business and then it works.
Right.
So anyway, that's a bit of a rant there. What are your thoughts, Cory?
So here's the thing. I think when you hear this, you think, okay, yeah, measure, learn, tweak, and repeat. Yeah, I mean, we know that already, right? Common sense. Here's the thing. A lot of cognitive biases, if you're not familiar with that, they are going to get in the way of your perception of what you think is actually happening in reality. Now, here's what I mean. You could say, okay, measure. Do you know how to really measure it? Are you measuring it properly? That's always a big question.
Yeah.
When you say learn, are you just keeping that in your own brain and saying like, all right, I think I get, okay, that, and then what about 6 months later? Have you recorded those learnings somewhere so you don't keep making the same mistakes? Very, very important. And then in terms of the tweaking, it's like, okay, so we learned that this bid strategy at these levels of settings, whatever, doesn't seem to work. We hit diminishing returns at this point. Okay, let's go ahead and tweak that, right? But again, if you didn't apply the recording of that learning in the past step, you're going to probably eventually make the same mistake where you're like, yeah, let's go ahead and push this. Let's move it to this setting, because things happen 6 months down the line. You forget. I mean, again, if you're keeping it all in your just conscious memory, well, you're going to make mistakes, and then the only thing you're repeating at the last step is the same mistake over and over and over again. So my point is, even though it seems very commonsensical and very obvious, you have to dig into each part of these and build systems that ensure that you are following each of these, and you're actually staying true to the process that you're really honoring the process. You're not just saying to yourself, all right, I want to make sure we're checking all these boxes. We're measuring. Good, I measured it. I'm learning. Okay, great. Okay, now I got to tweak, and then I got to repeat that. This is a cycle that you need to keep yourself accountable to, and usually systems and processes, SOPs, are going to be how you do that.
Yeah. And logging it. I think that, as you mentioned, the most important thing is logging it. We've got, for all of our clients, a strategy doc where we put in the changes that we make, not like that we did this bid, but more of the strategy changes based on either the conversation with the client or based on like major data that we're seeing. Just so then over time, you can actually see like the bit of like the journey that's been, because Google Ads, like the change history, Facebook, like it doesn't tell the journey. You've got to document why you made something, and just, it doesn't need to be crazy, just like a sentence, because if it's, you're right, like we live in our own confirmation biases and our own feedback loops. So if we're like, yeah, I do this for most clients, you're just going to keep doing that, even if the data's suggesting something different, or you could have done it 3 or 6 months ago, it didn't work, but then you're like, yeah, but I would do this for every client. So then you just kind of go back on something that you've already done. And we all do it. Like we all do it. No one's immune from it. It's like you've still got to show up every day to make those decisions. And I do this stuff. So I'm glad that you brought it up, especially the the documenting side of it, because that's where I've noticed that a lot of clarity comes from. Like, oh, this didn't work. Cool. Let's actually try something different and try it different with conviction rather than like, oh, should we try to go back to this, or what do we do from here?
I'll tell you that it is a game changer, and I've heard this from consulting clients as well. Being able to implement some kind of events log, something that just, like you said, mostly is about reasoning. So you have sort of a journal or a log, some kind of tracking around reasoning. Because, man, when you work with a lot of accounts and there's a lot of moving pieces, being able to go back and trace your steps into the reasoning behind a major strategic change is just invaluable, especially when things don't go well and you need to go back and explain to stakeholders what was the thinking along the way. Sometimes it happens. No matter how good you are, there are going to be times when you can go, no, actually, all of this made sense why we did it. I know it was 9 months ago, but this is why we did it initially. And then we can also see when clients request things. I like to put that in there too. Client is requesting that we need to, whatever, double the budget or something. It's good to have that because it keeps everybody, including yourself, accountable to what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. So anyway, that's the Agile loop. Michael, any last thoughts on this one?
No, I love it. I think, documenting the journey, because it's more than just yourself doing it. It's you. This is a team approach. So you need to make sure people are accountable towards the different parts and how each part affects other parts. Absolutely. That's a big thing why we have our logs, our strategy docs, is actually just to make sure that we do the stuff that we do, we say we're going to do. Clients don't most of the time. So it also keeps them accountable to that. So they're knowing that at certain stages, if things don't go well and there's like a part of that project steps has been missed. So then if things aren't going well in a certain amount of time, you can go back and be like, we did this for this reason, and these were the accountable parties for it as well. I know it kind of goes a bit off, but it all kind of blends into the same thing.
Yeah. Awesome.